My son was outside playing. He came. He was at the front gate. So he was like, Jalen, come here. Jalen, come here. So I'm like, who's calling my son? He gave my son $1. 5 minutes after talking to me and my son, he took it back.
What?
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you.
Scott.
I'll be honest with you.
Woo.
She got me confused with another dude because I never did that.
Oh
This is the only time.
Miss Scott, did you use protection?
No, it wasn't protected.
You all were only seeing one another?
Like, I was currently in a relationship when I met him originally.
So why would you do that?
He was my escape plan. He was my dummy, basically.
Things kick off with Ms. Scott McCrae suing her daughter for $3,900 in loans she says haven't been paid back. Wait, Ms. Scott has her own wild claims, saying her mom is jealous and wants her man.
Ms. Scott McCrae, you claim that you've been supporting your daughter, Ms. Scott, and her 7 children long enough.
Yes.
You say that your daughter's husband is a deadbeat, and you wish she'd leave this man and get off the system. Ms. Scott McCrae, you are suing your daughter for $3,900 unpaid loan.
Ms. Scott McCrae comes in swinging, calling her daughter's husband a deadbeat who can't hold a job. Ms. Scott isn't having it though, snapping back that her man has a job and that her mom just wishes she had a man like him. Let's just say the room gets loud and awkward real fast.
I don't want to break up my daughter and her husband, but my daughter needs a wake-up call. She's very intelligent. He's a deadbeat. He's not a good provider. He hinders his family more so, I think, than he can help. Can't keep a job for more than a week or 2.
He has a job.
When did
just
he
got
get
a
it?
job.
Last week?
It doesn't matter
And
when
how long
he
is
got
he
it.
gonna
He's
keep
working.
it? 2
So, Ms.
weeks?
Scott McCrae,
How long is he gonna keep it?
Just let it be known, Mom.
And now we're fighting about cereal. Yep, cereal. The mom says her son-in-law ate all the cereal and drank all the milk, leaving nothing for the kids. The husband denies it. But at this point, you're wondering how breakfast turned into a courtroom brawl.
One night, particularly, he went into the kitchen 3 or 4 times, and the whole night he was eating cereal. He was eating cereal.
and that's just what
Okay,
a deadbeat
That was what a bed they would do.
Okay, but did that take
However,
cereal out of my
no,
children's
it didn't
mouth?
take the
No,
cereal. They
because
couldn't
we
eat
have
the
more than
cereal.
enough. Why are you
Oh,
on
so
these
he drunk up
all the
things,
milk.
though?
You're saying
Can
for
somebody
milk.
be on little
Okay,
things like
She
that?
had to ask me.
Things turn serious when they start talking about money. Ms. Scott says her mom once gave her a bounce check that caused major problems, but the mom denies it. It's a classic she said moment, with both sides yelling over each other.
But let you tell it you paid our rent 5 and 6 months, Mom.
That's when I was staying with you when you were
But
on
when have you
Tuckasegee,
ever
and as
paid
soon
our
as I
rent for
moved
5
out,
or 6
y'all
months,
got
Mom?
evicted because you
Yeah,
couldn't
because you
continue to
gave
pay
me
the
a
rent.
bounce check.
No, I gave it. I didn't give you. I canceled $400 of it. Mike had an $800 check, but I had to take 4 of it to move out of your house because I got tired of living in the
behind our
situation.
back, though.
Ms. Scott is still upset about that check and claims it made her family lose their home. Her mom argues that she doesn't owe them anything and was just trying to help. The back and forth here is so wild, even Judge Lake can't keep a straight face.
She came to live with us from Asheville. She was in treatment. She left treatment. She cleaned. She came and lived with us. For the first year, we did not ask her for no money. Every week she got her unemployment, she used her money on her. If I did go to her for $1 here and there, okay, you living with us. She didn't have to buy no food. She did not have to do none of that. Now, at the end of the year, we got in the bind.
Just when you think it couldn't get crazier, Ms. Scott accuses her mom of doing grown-up stuff in the living room while living in their house. And yes, the kids almost saw it. The mom denies it. But by now, it's clear this family needs way more than a courtroom. They need a therapist.
Now, she's acting like a little high school girl while she was living with us, sleeping with him in the house. Like one morning, we getting the kids ready for daycare. Toy wouldn't have walked in the living room. Kids would have seen her full moon. Doing what
Having sex?
with the children.
Having sex?
You're right.
Ms. Scott drops another bomb, claiming her mom kissed her husband on the cheek, and not just a little peck. She says it was a slobbery, gross kiss. The mom says it's a lie. The damage is already done. The drama here is messier than a soap opera.
What about the
last
day when
thing
we
that
was in the
Toy helped
home
me
having a couple of drinks, Your Honor? She's about to leave. I walk her out to her car. Something just told me to, just look back out the door. She done got out her car, walked up to our car where Toy was sitting, and kissed him on his cheek. A slobbery kiss. If he would have turned his face, that would have been tongue kissing.
The husband, Mr. Young, finally gets his turn. He says the mom has made weird comments about how helpful he is, and even wanted him to help her set up a tent. Yes, a tent. He also thinks she has a crush on him, and adds that she's got some mental problems. The courtroom is now officially on fire.
She always touching me on my chest.
What chest?
She always saying, you do more than I can my son or the man I'm sleeping with to do, to have me come and do things.
God.
She even came out the blue one day to even come and get me by myself to come and pick up a tent for her. Man, she's sleeping with in the same house.
The lie detector test results are in, and here's what we find out. The mom didn't make any moves on her son-in-law and doesn't want to. Everyone's relieved. relieved, kind of, but it's still super awkward. The judge is like, can we all agree to stop being weird now?
Ms. Scott McCrae, you were asked, have you ever made any sexual advances towards your son-in-law, Toy? You said no.
No.
And the lie detector determined that was true.
Yes, it was.
Whoa, this courtroom is a total soap opera. Ms. Dixon is here to prove Mr. Froyo is her dad, even though his name's on her birth certificate and he's been denying her for years. Oh, and she's also battling cancer while sorting out her family drama. Talk about heavy.
This is the case of Dixon v. Froyo. Ms. Dixon, today you come to our court after a very difficult journey, some grave health issues in your state. You say you believe that Mr. Froyo is your father, and he has denied you since you were a little girl, even though he signed your birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Dixon spills the tea on her rough past. At her grandma's funeral, Mr. Froyo told her not to cry because she's not your grandmother. Ouch. Later, he even suggested another guy might be her dad. Between her health struggles and constant rejection, this is heartbreak central.
I just want to know. I don't want him to feel sorry for me. He says he's not my dad, but he'll be there for me. I don't need a charity case, you know, if he's not my daddy. But if he is, I'd like him to know, like, I've been through so much. My grandmother passed away, his mother, in '98, told me my tears weren't needed because it wasn't my grandmother. I was 10. He told me when I was about 15 that a man named Tom Ashley was my father.
Then Ms. Dixon's mom jumps in with fire, accusing Mr. Froyo of inventing some random Tom Ashley to dodge responsibility. She claims he only denied Ms. Dixon because he wanted a son. Yikes! The courtroom is shook as Mr. Froyo claps back, and the drama is just getting started.
He would not give me a phone number, an address. He wouldn't tell me where he was taking her, and I wasn't having that. And there is no Tom Ashley. You know what? If there is a Tom Ashley, I would like to meet him because got to be a better dad than him. He denies her because she was a girl. That's why he denied her.
Is that
he
true,
wanted
Mr.
a boy.
No.
Mr. Froyo has Ms. Dixon's name tattooed with his other kids, so why deny her? He blames last name drama, leaving everyone confused. Just when it seems like things couldn't get messier, Ms. Dixon drops even more emotional truths, and the room is reeling.
He tattooed my name on his arm. Like he said he's got older children. All 4 of us are in a row, from oldest to youngest. My name's on his arm.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. Up till 5 years ago, Your Honor.
Are you serious right
You
now?
denied me in '98.
Simple reason is, Your Honor, why does Samantha have Dixon for her last name if I am true her biological father and it's not my last name?
Ms. Dixon reveals battling cancer while caring for her kids with zero support from Mr. Froyo. At 19, she had no hair and no help, yet she powered through. The judge practically begs Mr. Froyo to show some humanity, and the tension is so thick it's suffocating.
And they stayed together 5 years after I was born. And he denied me when I was 8. He denied me when I was 15. He denied me again when I was 7. I don't want anything from him physically. I just want to know that he doesn't need to be my dad to feel sorry for me. I battled cancer for 6 years by myself with nobody there. He's lost his mother to cancer. You would think being that if you thought I was your daughter, why wouldn't you want to be there?
Ms. Dixon opens up about seeking love in all the wrong places after being rejected by Mr. Froyo as a teen. She lost twins and faced even more heartbreak while he stayed distant. The courtroom is floored as her pain becomes undeniable.
I didn't have a dad. I had no male figure in my life to lay the law. My mom was working 60 hours a week to support the home. She had 2 other kids besides me. I lost my virginity and got pregnant with twins. I called Sam when I was pregnant with them twins, and he asked me if they were meant. And I told him they were. And you know what? Well, when my twins died January 17th, I called him, and he told me it was meant to happen. He showed up to the funeral because they were dead. That's the only reason why.
The results are in.
When it comes to Samantha Ashley, Mr. Froyo, you are her father.
Told you. It was Tom Ashley.
Okay, so things kick off with Mr. Jenkins throwing out some pretty wild accusations. Ms. Hensley is like, yeah, I messed up before, but this kid's yours, and I'm gonna prove it. Buckle up, folks. This drama is just getting started.
Mr. Jenkins, you say your girlfriend is a known cheater who has spent the last 2 years bouncing between you, her ex-boyfriends, and her co-worker, and can't be trusted. You say there is no way you are the father of her daughter, Asher, and this paternity doubt has put your wedding on hold.
Now we hear how their relationship is basically a slow-motion train wreck. Even though they live together, he barely helps out with Asher because he's not convinced the kid is his. Yikes. But wait, the backstory gets even messier.
It's really put the relationship on a line because I love being with her, but it's making me have more and more doubts as time goes on because I keep finding more and more cases.
Because at this point, you don't believe anything she says?
No, Your Honor.
Which is why you basically canceled the wedding?
Yes, Your Honor. I've been sleeping on the couch and doing very minimal things to help with the baby and such since I don't believe believe that it's mine.
Here comes the first big twist, and it's spicy. She's like, it was innocent, chill, but then some old texts pop up, and they're all like, miss you, or whatever. Awkward. This is just the warm-up, though.
There arose one time, when we were first together for 4 weeks, we worked at the same location. Text her, and she was going to come over and spend the night. Well, she ended up messaging me saying, hey, I'm staying late until 2 a.m. At midnight is when she was supposed to get off. And I noticed the business was already closed. Then I realized there's only 2 vehicles there, her car and her ex-boyfriend's truck.
As if the parking lot thing wasn't enough, Mr. Jenkins is now side-eyeing Ms. Hensley's co-worker. Apparently, her friends were all, girl, ditch Jenkins, but she stayed loyal. Sounds complicated, right? Just wait until we get to the baby drama.
We were working at a factory at the time. She had a fellow co-worker that would always come over and like fake nudge her, joke with her, flirt with her, talk with her, and I never could trust him. Yet one night, I went through her phone again, and she was messaging her manager about the co-worker saying he's so cute, but yet he knows about David.
All right, so even though he signed the birth certificate, Mr. Jenkins admits he's been keeping his distance from baby Asher. Like, seriously, how do you not cry at that? Jenkins is all stuck in his feelings, but things are about to take a sharp turn when the truth finally drops.
And so what is your relationship like with Asher?
I love her because I was there when she was born, somewhat helped to take care of her.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Even though you had doubt?
I was in a state of mind where I was very shocked as to what I had just seen because I had never seen a child being born before.
Why are you signing birth certificates if you have doubt?
I was completely frazzled at the time. I didn't know what was going on.
And boom, the moment we've all been waiting for, the DNA results. Guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Jenkins, you are the father.
Okay, this whole thing kicks off with Mr. Moore saying he's Allie Luna's dad, but claims Ms. Scott won't let him in her life. But wait, you're not gonna believe what Ms. Scott drops on us next.
You came to court today to prove you are the biological father of 4-year-old Aliana. You and your current girlfriend claim the defendant has played on your emotions for 4 years. You are desperate to put the defendant's doubt to rest so you can finally be in your daughter's life.
Ms. Scott straight up calls Mr. Moore her escape plan. Oh, but the wild stuff about her other boyfriend is just around the corner.
We met on a dating site. He was kind of like an escape plan for something that I was going through. So I wanted to,
plan.
Yeah.
Escape plan.
I wanted to get away from that, so, I kind of led him on. I wasn't trying to pursue nothing, family or anything with this man. We met together. He asked me to move in with him. We maybe stayed together maybe a month, and I left.
Things just keep getting crazier. Ms. Scott admits she was in a whole other relationship while living with Mr. Moore. Just wait until they start breaking down when this baby was actually made.
Ms. Scott, did you use protection?
No, it wasn't protected.
You all were only seeing one another?
Like, I was currently in a relationship when I met him originally.
So why would you do that?
He was my escape plan. He was my dummy, basically.
Oh, here's where it gets real. Mrs. Scott says she found out she was pregnant at a clinic in September 2013. Buckle up because the timeline of who did what and when is about to get a whole lot messier.
I found out I was pregnant September 2013. I was going to the clinic for, my yearly monthly women's exam. They came in and said, Miss Scott, you're pregnant. So I told my daughter's father that we were going to have a baby. I never, Mr. Moore, that we were going to have a baby together. I never told him that.
Your Honor, she called me and told me she was pregnant.
She did?
Yes,
never.
Get ready to have your brain scrambled. Judge Lake pulls out a conception calculator and figures out the baby was likely conceived between July 28 and August 3. But hold on, the DNA test is creeping up, and it's gonna be good.
So, when was Aliana born?
April 25th.
April 25th. If I hit calculate, the window of conception is July 28th to August 3rd. And you claim you were in a relationship with Mr. Moore in July.
We had sex, Your Honor, in July and August.
Not from my remembrance, no.
Just when you think this case couldn't get any crazier, the court pulls out pictures of Mr. Moore's other kid and Allie Luna. She's like, nope, she looks like me and my man. The court's about to hit us with the ultimate truth bomb. Stay tuned.
Your son and Miss Scott's daughter was submitted to the court. And on the left side is Mr. Moore's other child with you, Ms. Williams.
Yes. They don't look alike. Baby looks like him. My daughter looks like me, and she resembles her dad.
She looks like me. She got the same pointed ears just like I do. She has the same forehead as it resembles mine.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for. The DNA test comes back, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Moore, you are the father.
Buckle up, because this case is already wild before it even starts. In Kidd vs. Rawlings, Mr. Kidd claims Ms. Rawlings convinced him he was her baby's father, then swapped him out for someone better. Meanwhile, Ms. Rawlings insists Mr. Kidd couldn't be the dad since he told her he couldn't have kids. Things are about to get even messier.
You say Ms. Rawlings is a manipulative user who convinced you that you were the father of her son, Nathaniel, then changed her mind when someone better came along. You and your mother say Ms. Rawlings' mind games have wreaked emotional havoc on your family, and you are 100% positive are her son's father.
The testimonies begin, and it's a chaotic he said, she said showdown. Mr. Kidd says Ms. Rawlings told him he was the father, even writing him letters while he was away. Ms. Rawlings counters that she had other partners at the time. This story is just getting started.
When this first started off, she came to me and told me that he was mine. She was sending me letters when I was gone.
And so you were away when she found out she was pregnant?
I went away a month after she found out she was pregnant.
Did you tell him it was his child, Ms. Rawlings?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Rawlings admits she was juggling 2 relationships during conception, claiming she didn't know who the father was. She also says Mr. Kidd claimed he was infertile. The drama keeps building, and we're only scratching the surface.
We were in a serious relationship. I was actually at some point, once I left from being around Mr. Kidd, that I was actually staying with him.
So how often were you with Mr. Kidd and how often were you with the other guy?
Pretty much going back and forth because I was staying with him. I was leaving from being with Mr. Kidd to going with him and coming back to Mr. Kidd.
Here comes the science part, and it just makes things more confusing. Mr. Kidd's mom explains a rare blood condition that could complicate pregnancy, but not make it impossible. Despite this, Ms. Rawlings stands firm. Mr. Kidd isn't the father, and confusion reigns.
It's not a rare blood disease. I am ARH negative, and he is ARH negative. During the pregnancy, it could prevent her from having future children, or that child could pass away.
So, Mr. Kidd, did you ever tell Ms. Rawlings you didn't believe you could have children?
Yes, ma'am. I informed her of the situation because I typically, in a long-term relationship, I've never any kind of hiccup.
Ms. Jenkins arrives, convinced the baby is her grandson. She insists the baby looks just like Mr. Kidd, showing off pictures to prove her point. But everyone's still wondering, who's really the dad?
It was approximately the mid of August of 2016.
And at that time, were you aware that your son was in a relationship with Ms. Rawlings?
No.
We've never been in a relationship.
Wasn't just a sexual relationship?
No, ma'am. She just needed somewhere to stay. So I was just looking out for her, and it just became a sexual encounter.
It was an encounter?
More than one.
Accusations fly, with Ms. Rawlings accused of leading Mr. Kidd and his mom on. Meanwhile, the second potential dad also claims the baby looks like him. Are we doing paternity tests for everyone now?
Me being me as a mother, and I wasn't able to grow up with my father. Mr. Kidd can't see the moments that he's missing. At least his mom will be able to have them, and his family has some stories to tell.
But as you stand here at the defendant podium, you say you know Mr. Kidd is not your child's biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
We learned that Ms. Rawlings once handed over the baby to Ms. Jenkins, temporarily for help. Ms. Jenkins even had a handwritten custody note, but it only adds more confusion. This situation raises more questions than it answers.
I got a handwritten letter of custody.
Because of the fact that I had got a job that was paying $10 an hour, and I didn't have anybody to watch him. At the same time, trying to figure out who's going to watch my child and me not. That since she was there, that my child.
At that specific time, you did not have a job yet.
I know,
2 days
and
before that.
Dr. Gator explains that Mr. Kidd's infertility might not be as definite as he thought. Childhood infections could have affected his sperm, but not completely. Now everyone's on edge, just waiting for the DNA results.
So I think there's 2 separate issues here. There was an issue about RH blood. That has to do with a mother and a baby, and if there's different blood types between the father of the baby, positive and negative. And so there are various childhood infections from mumps to STIs like gonorrhea and chlamydia. Those can cause inflammation in the testicles and makes it difficult for you to emit sperm.
The results are in and the tension is high.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Kidd, you are the father.
This whole thing kicks off with a bang. Judge Lake introduces Mr. Scott, who's here to dodge accusations from multiple women claiming he's their baby daddy. Mr. Scott owns up to 6 kids with 3 women, but says, no way, not number 7 with Ms. Crane. The courtroom's already buzzing, and you just know it's gonna get messier before it clears up.
Mr. Scott, you say you are appearing in court today to clear your name. You state many women,
including the defendant, have dragged your reputation through the mud, claiming you are the father of their children. You admit to having 6 kids by 3 different women, but state that the defendant is not mother number 4 with child number 7.
Mr. Scott doubts Jaylynn is his, pointing to shady calls and Ms. Crane getting rides from random dudes. Ms. Crane calls him insecure, while the judge wonders if they were ever a real couple. Then, the twist. Mr. Scott was supposedly divorced, but Ms. Crane reveals he was still hanging with his ex-wife. The drama just keeps piling on.
When we were together, her cell phone would ring, she'll walk out the room. She'll leave her cell phone with her best friend. Or like after we spend the night with each other, instead of me taking her home, she'll like walk home and I'll just peep at her and look at her and see what she's doing. And she had other dudes picking her up on her. And she admitted it to me about other dudes picking her up. I don't need to put his name out.
That's insecurity, Your Honor. Insecurity. He's a grown man.
Ms. Crane says she was 7 months pregnant when she discovered Mr. Scott was married, thanks to snooping on his phone. She even called his wife, who told her to get an abortion, and hung up. Mr. Scott admits he was with his ex, but says it's no big deal. Spoiler alert, things are about to get even wilder, with tattoos and more accusations.
Your Honor, I was 7 months pregnant. I didn't know where Marcel was. He used my phone one time. He deleted all his calls, so I went back on the internet, back to the research, called all the numbers he called, and found out he was married for 9 years.
That's true, I was married, but I've been divorced December 2009.
No, actually, he was at the woman's house, and he actually picked up the phone. So the lady was like, who is this calling from Marcel? I said, well, I'm his baby mama, his girlfriend.
Tattoos, lies, and chaos take center stage. Ms. Crane denies knowing about Mr. Scott's other kids, but he's got their names tattooed. He also claims Ms. Crane hid the baby's face during a run-in with his ex's family, which she says was to avoid harassment. And they accuse each other of cheating, like arguing over who ate the last cookie.
And he lied about all of his kids. I didn't know he had no kids.
She lied because I got tattoos all over my body. I got all my kids' names on my neck, on my back.
That don't mean nothing.
Anyway,
I didn't ask him nothing about no tattoos.
She said it was your brother.
And?
But then come to find it's another dude that's holding the baby. Well, I don't know if she still has it, but what she told me recently that she had it covered up. She has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 2.
No, Your Honor, I had 1, and that was my ex-boyfriend for 5 years.
Mr. Scott swears he didn't put those hickeys on Ms. Crane, and she claims it doesn't matter because they weren't together then. He says she kept him from doctor visits, while she says she had her reasons. The judge is clearly over it, but they still need to figure out who supported the baby.
And then while she's pregnant, she had hickeys on her neck. And I didn't give her them hickeys. You know what I mean? And when she was pregnant, she didn't even tell me she was pregnant. I said, well, let me take you to Kaiser Permanente Hospital. She told me to go to the Kaiser Permanente in Lancaster, and she's at the Kaiser Permanente in Palmdale. I care all my kids.
And so you're trying to take
kids.
her to the medical appointment.
Yeah, she wouldn't let me take her.
And she's telling you she's at one branch, you at the other branch.
They argue about who did what for baby Jaylynn. Ms. Crane says Mr. Scott is a part-time dad, showing up once a year. Mr. Scott blames her for keeping him away. The judge steps in like a referee, and just then, a surprise witness enters. With more baby drama,
I got home from work. My son was outside playing. He came. He was at the front gate. So he was like, Jalen, come here. Jalen, come here. So I'm like, who's calling my son? He gave my son $1. 5 minutes after talking to me and my son, he took it back.
What?
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you.
Scott.
I'll be honest with you. She got me confused with another dude because I never did that.
Oh
This is the only time.
Miss Kalon arrives, claiming Mr. Scott is the father of her baby too. Things get so heated that the judge slams her gavel to keep order. Ms. Crane and Miss Kalon tag team against Mr. Scott, who's left trying to defend himself. The tension is about to explode. The DNA results are in.
He's my daughter's father too. My daughter's 4 months old.
So you claim you also have a child by him, and he's denying paternity?
He wants paternity test. I have it.
Yeah, she had no problem.
Nothing.
No, I communicate with her
It's
good. There's no problem with her.
When it comes to 3-year-old Jaylynn Crane, Mr. Scott, our father.
Told you!
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like
sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-lex condom? He told me no. I said, we better off not. No, never mind, I'll just do it anyway.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yeah.
Things kick off with Mr. Montgomery, who's all like, Miss Parker tricked me into thinking I was Timothy's dad. But now Miss Parker's flipping the story, saying he's not the father. So he's like, let's do a DNA test. Oh, this is about to get wild.
You say Miss Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth, named the baby, signed the birth certificate, but now Miss Parker says
you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Montgomery is here pouring his heart out like it's some kind of romance movie, insisting he's Timothy's dad. Timothy is his son, and he's not ready to let this go. But just wait until Miss Parker drops her side of the story.
I believe I'm the father because, I loved her. Me and her were together. We were sexually active.
You too.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I just believe, firmly that this is my son. I was there, through the pregnancy and signed the birth certificate. And what the funny part is,
because
she
I thought
allowed
he
me
was
to name
your
the son after my deceased father.
Miss Parker's story just took a hard left turn as she admits there's another possible dad in the mix. This love triangle just turned into a math problem.
I thought he was the father.
You did?
Yeah, because he looked just like Mark in the ultrasounds.
So during the ultrasounds, you felt like they resembled?
Yeah, they looked just like him, and I believed that he was the father.
Miss Parker's dropping bombshells, admitting she was with both guys at the same time, making paternity a big guessing game. And Miss Parker doesn't seem like she's done spilling the tea.
I had sex with both of them around the same time and the same day.
You're talking about one of these 3D ultrasounds? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. I had one of those, and I know what you're saying when you look at baby and you pick out features and you say, oh, I think he kind of resembles, but there's no way if you were sleeping with another man during the window of conception.
Mr. Montgomery went all out, basically moving mountains to be with Miss Parker, and the crowd can't believe it. You've got to feel for the guy. This is just the beginning.
I left everything I knew in Cleveland, my family. I had a good paying job that I had, and, left my family, my friends, everything I ever knew behind so I can go down there, be the best father and family man that I could possibly be for her, her kids, and my son.
Yeah.
Miss Parker, meanwhile, says she was kind of fed up with Mr. Lanou, always ignoring her for his Xbox, so she found herself looking for attention. Everyone in the courtroom is shaking their heads by now, wondering where this will lead next.
So, talk to me about how you were in a relationship with two different men.
I was with Mark. He was always on Xbox. He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
First met, it wasn't even like that. He wasn't even in the picture.
Right here.
You are
He done left.
He pried on my girlfriend when I was
one
with
at
her.
a time.
Now, Mr. Lanou and Mr. Montgomery are throwing shade about who's really supporting the baby financially, and it's messy. The competition between these two just keeps getting more intense.
I have a job.
Where's all this money going?
It's going to him.
No, it's
going
not.
to
I have
him.
not once
Trust and
got
believe,
it.
my son will have what he needs.
Putting diapers on his
because
buying
you snuck
formula,
behind
buying
my back
clothes.
and you bit on my girl, homie.
Before you got pregnant, you ended up with Mr. Lanou, right?
The first time he had left, throughout the whole time,
Yeah,
even
broke up
told
with
him
me.
that we were sleeping together after he came back.
Mr. Montgomery's really been holding back here, but he finally admits he kind of suspected Miss Parker was seeing Mr. Lanou on the side. The truth is creeping closer and closer.
Before Timothy was born, no, I had my suspicions, but I had never had, concrete evidence that they was actually sleeping around.
Clearly, Miss Parker, you're sleeping with both men.
Yeah.
At a certain point. You end up in the hospital having your baby. How is it that Mr. Montgomery ends up in the hospital with you?
I didn't know it was a possibility that Lanou would have been the father of Timothy.
Get your tissues, because Mr. Montgomery is reliving the happiest moment of his life, and he held Timothy at birth. But Miss Parker's about to come in with some ice-cold reality.
Sitting there, I'm holding him for the first time, I bring him to, her face, so she can see him because she had a C-section. I'm sitting there crying. I even told myself that, when he was born, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Was I nervous? No, I was excited because the simple fact of the matter, I was told that I was gonna be and unlike most men, I was damn proud to hear that I was gonna be a father.
Miss Parker confesses that she waited weeks after Timothy's birth to tell Mr. Montgomery that he might not be the dad, and his reaction says it all. Mr. Lanou is waiting to share his own side of the story, and it's about to get even messier.
I told him, and
3 weeks after he was born.
But this is because during that time, Your Honor, that he had threatened to Timothy.
Your Honor, she
without
told
her
me
knowledge,
in the bed.
take him to Cleveland.
First time she was able to have sex after the baby was born, she waited until after we were done to sit. I don't think you're the father. I think Luke's the father, and I'm still laying in the bed with this woman naked.
Mr. Lanou explains how he stayed cool and didn't go to the hospital, even though he knew there'd be a fight if he did. But Timothy's paternity still isn't set in stone, and the drama's not over.
I actually was going to show up to the hospital, but for her and that unborn child refused to because I know that it would have caused a disturbance between me and him.
You knew
I didn't have
that you
a
had been
choice.
sleeping with her.
A man always has
Did
a
you
choice.
know there was a distinct possibility that you could be this
Absolutely,
child's
Your Honor,
father?
and I even
I
previously
told him
on
it
Facebook.
wasn't because I didn't want to believe it.
Miss Parker shocks everyone, admitting she was cheating on Mr. Lanou left and right while they were together, which makes this all feel like a soap opera. But with the DNA results coming up, they're about to get some real answers.
What other fact do you have that support your belief that this child is Mr. Lanou's?
It's just I cheated the whole time I was with Mark. And
But I cheated.
You did cheat.
Okay.
It's also
I
the
did
fact that
cheat
he's
because
tried
you cheated on
conceiving
me.
children to other women who, until he left, could not conceive a child.
The results come out and hit like a sledgehammer.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Montgomery, you are not the father.
Wow, this story kicks off wild right from the start. Miss Herman is in court to prove that Mr. Houston is the father of her son Corey. But get ready, this tale is only just beginning.
Miss Herman, you are here to prove that Mr. Houston is the biological father of your 2-year-old son Corey. You contend the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Miss Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, bam! Miss Herman explains how she found out Mr. Houston was married while she was already pregnant. With her detective skills in full gear, Miss Herman is about to make this courtroom a whole lot more interesting.
I like to call this the investigative stage. That's what I do. So during the time I was pregnant, I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. Got my investigation glasses on, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children.
Mr. Houston really doubles down, saying he had no reason to tell her he was married. Like that little fact didn't matter. The judge is already over this eyebrow drama, but trust me, there's way more eyebrow-raising stuff to come.
Anything I got going on before I met her wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't curious about the extra stuff. I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things?
No, it wasn't extra at all. It was just something that I didn't communicate with her.
This part is downright awkward as Mr. Houston tries to dodge the question about using protection. But things are about to get a whole lot stickier as Mr. Houston tries to explain himself.
But you didn't use protection when you were sleeping with her.
You did not.
Did you tell me?
Don't lie. He did not use a condom, Your Honor. He did not.
Yana.
No, the answer is no. Don't let him lie to you. The answer is no. No, he did not. No.
Mr. Houston's version of their meeting is so casual, it sounds like he's describing grabbing lunch. He claims he was just interested in getting to know her, not aiming for anything serious, like, oh, having a kid. Miss Herman's expression says it all. She's about to spill more details he forgot to mention.
I had a homie that just got married. We were celebrating his marriage, I met her. She seemed like she was out of her comfort zone, She wasn't supposed to be there, you know what I mean? So I approached her. I said, hey, how you doing, We started communicating. She told me her name. I let her know who I was.
He did, Your Honor. Don't let him lie to you. When he do that thing with his eyebrows, he's lying.
And when Miss Herman reveals they were together for a month and a half, the drama level in the room doubles. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, in steps Mr. Houston's wife with her own version of the story.
About a month and a half, when I found out I was pregnant, told Cortez that I was pregnant, and he didn't say anything on the other line of that phone. He said, are you for real? I said, yes, I'm for real. Then he promised that he would be there throughout the whole pregnancy, not just 2 doctors.
At what point do you discover that he has a wife? Are you already pregnant?
Yes.
Here comes Mrs. Houston, and she's not here to play nice. But hang on, because these 2 women have even more to say, and Mr. Houston's day is about to go downhill fast.
How did you find out about Miss Herman?
The way I discovered, they were doing whatever was a message came in his phone. When I have the baby, I want to move in with you. I'm looking like, who the hell is this? And what is she talking about? So somebody is trying to get answers, and he playing dumb, wouldn't tell me the truth about it. So eventually I end up calling the number and I talked to her.
The drama goes off the charts as Mrs. Houston tells everyone she and Miss Herman were pregnant at the same time. But Mr. Houston's about to pull out a deep reason for his actions that'll leave you scratching your head.
He said he's going to be there for me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you're pregnant. I'm pregnant too. So how does that work?
See, I'm in the business of making babies. I have every reason to extend my bloodline. Let me let you know,
And now, Mr. Houston gives a reason for his actions that's as surprising as it is confusing. The judge isn't having it and tells him making babies isn't the way to heal his loss. But don't worry, Mr. Houston isn't done with his wild excuses just yet.
Exactly. And you thought by making more children,
I'll be connected with my father.
You will be connecting with your father. At the end of the day, you do have to understand that when you bring children into the world with paternity questions, that's not being a superhero. That's not being the kind of father you say you lost.
Mr. Houston's next excuse is one for the history books, claiming he skipped the condom because he's allergic to latex. The judge looks ready to scream as she tries to get him to own up to his choices.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me no. I said, we better off not. No, never mind, I'll just do it anyway.
And then things heat up even more as Miss Herman accuses Mr. Houston of barely being in Corey's life. Finally, it's time for the DNA results that could blow everything up.
Ms. Herman, Mr. Houston testified that he wants to be a dad. Has he been a dad to Corey?
No, he doesn't do anything for Corey at all.
This woman's full of lies today. I don't know why.
Can you show you a receipt?
I made sure that I had his first pair of shoes. I got him some booties. I did everything that I was supposed to do as far as making sure he had car seats. I did all those things.
This moment right here, it's the jaw dropper everyone was waiting for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. I ain't gotta talk to this man not no more.
Oh, here we go. Things get intense right away. Mr. Razor and Mr. Hunt, who are siblings, decide to sue their parents for a paternity test. But there's way more to this story. Just wait till you hear about the argument that got this whole mess started. Comment loud and clear, and he was left totally mind blown. Things are only getting messier from here as the family drama keeps unfolding.
Yes, I did, Your Honor, but I don't believe my children heard the whole comment.
Emotions are all over the place as Ms. Razor steps up.
Something that you need to tell me. Maybe.
Just when you think this family drama is as complicated as it gets, Ms. Ham drops a Tommy thrown into the mix. Family's confusion hits a whole new level. But just wait till Tommy gets involved. Okay, Uncle Tommy joins in remotely and admits he had a relationship with Ms. Ham back in the day, leaving the siblings even more bewildered. The drama is thick in the air as they all hold their breath, waiting for the DNA test results.
That's just nasty. Wow. That is not my father.
Ms. Ham casually confirms that, yeah, she and Mr. Farmer were involved 26 years ago, which means he could totally be Precious's dad, but definitely not Hector. Yes. Precious is holding back tears as she reveals how desperately she needs the truth about who her dad is, especially since she's getting married soon. And here we are, with the results about to come out. And you know things are going to hit hard.
These are my children, and I'm gonna...
Whoa, this is a wild start. Mr. Haynes drags Miss Manning into court, claiming he's definitely the dad of her daughter, Zoe, even though Miss Manning now says, nope, you're not. And just when you think it can't get crazier, they toss even more surprising facts at each other.
Mr. Haynes, you have brought Ms. Manning court today to prove that you are the father of her 4-year-old daughter, Zoe. You say Ms. Manning initially told you that you were Zoe's dad, but now is claiming you are not her father.
It's only getting more confusing here, folks. Miss Manning explains her timeline, claiming that Zoe was conceived after she and Mr. Haynes had already called it quits. Just wait, things are about to get even more. What?
Miss Manning sent me a picture. I thought it was my son at first. It was actually Zoe. Took a picture of my son and I compared it, and that's when she was my child.
And why do you feel you know that for certain?
Zoe was conceived at the end of October and we had already broken up.
It's like watching a ping pong match of parent confusion here. Mr. Haynes remembers Miss Manning saying he was the father, then changing her mind over and over again. And you won't believe the next set of wild mixed messages.
She said I was the father multiple times. Then she also told me I wasn't the father multiple times. So first met when I was getting a tattoo, and it was at residence, and we only dated for a short period of time until she ended the relationship. So I ended up moving on, got with my ex now, my son's mom.
This back and forth is exhausting, even for the judge, but after 4 years of mixed signals, both of them are at their wits' end. And get ready, because another possible dad just popped into the mix.
I had a baby, and it's a possibility she's yours.
And so he said, send me a picture, and that's what you sent. And once he acknowledged that, yes, I believe this is my daughter, what did you say?
I've never told him he was the father, and I've never told him he wasn't the father. It's always been, there's a possibility. And the fact that he's waited 4 years to take a paternity test is what irritates me.
The confusion just keeps snowballing here. When asked if he's been part of Zoe's life, Mr. Haynes says he's tried, but Miss Manning only allowed him to be a friend of the family for Zoe's sake. And now, Mr. Haynes brings a timeline to show he's been trying all along.
Have you tried to be a father at all to Zoe, Mr. Haynes? Have you been a part of her life? She's 4.
I have tried to reach out to her. I have talked to her once, and when I did talk to her, Miss Manning told me not to mention that I was the father. She just told me to keep, I'm a family friend of the family, so.
Keeping up with this timeline is like trying to follow spaghetti noodles. It's all over the place. The judge points out the endless cycle of yes, no, Maybe. And everyone's left dizzy. And if you thought it was done, hold on, because Miss Manning's got something to say next.
You submitted a timeline to the court.
March of 2014 is when I received the photo, Zoe, but like I told you guys just previous that I thought it was my son. Then I found out it wasn't.
And you felt like she sent you the picture because she was your child.
Yes.
So you're thinking you are the father.
Yes.
Things get even juicier with the next witness. Mr. Haynes' girlfriend, Ms. Wickwire, his current girlfriend, steps up and backs up Mr. Haynes, saying Miss Manning has repeatedly changed her mind on who the dad is. This story keeps twisting like a soap opera.
First off,
what
Your Honor,
testimony do you have?
we've been together for 2.5 years. She has repeatedly sent him messages saying that he is the father and isn't the father. She's dragging him through hell, pretty much. When he is the father, he's
Your Honor,
happy and wants to
I don't
actually try and
understand
take...
how I'm dragging him through hell when it's been, there's a possibility, let's get a DNA test.
Now the judge is practically begging for Miss Manning to let Mr. Haynes have a chance with Zoe. The stakes are sky high, and everyone's waiting to see how this ends.
So have you encouraged a relationship between Mr. Haynes and Zoe?
No.
And why is that?
I would rather have proof that he is her father instead of them building a relationship and him not being the father.
You really believe it's the man that's on the birth certificate, already acknowledged paternity, but has allowed you to have full custody and doesn't really want to be part of raising her?
Yes.
This is a roller coaster of emotion as both parties share their hopes. Both clearly want the best for Zoe, and it's tough to watch them struggle. We're on the edge here. The final DNA answer is coming.
Do you hope Mr. Haynes is her biological father?
Yes.
So even though your gut says to you, do not think he's the father, what are your hopes, Mr. Haynes?
I just want to find out the truth because it's been almost 4 years of going back and forth that I'm the father. So I just want the proof.
And you want to be her father?
Yes.
It's DNA time, and the result is a jaw-dropper.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Haynes, you are not father.
Whoa, this case got messy real fast. Mr. Lester's like, nope, not mine. You had other guys around then. Things already look dicey, and we're just getting started.
Mr. Lester, you say that you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners during her time of conception, so you are 100% certain that you are not father of baby Nyla.
You won't believe the pettiness in this part. Miss Moyet says Mr. Lester's support so far includes a few diapers and one onesie for a boy. But trust me, these two are just getting warmed up.
Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life. Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit. Other than that, me and my mother have been providing food, milk, and everything and things like that. I also have evidence here showing you food, cribs,
Let me
everything.
see that evidence.
And things took a weird turn when Miss Moyet shared how she planned this pregnancy by showing up at Mr. Lester's house on her special day. The drama was thick in the air, and it was only about to get thicker.
I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over his house the day I was ovulating, and I let him know I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla. To make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla.
The tension really hit high gear as the judge dug into their relationship timeline. The judge tells them both that not using protection isn't exactly smart, and oh boy, we can feel where this is going.
What she's saying is you were having unprotected sex with her then, and even since this child's birth, you're still having unprotected sex with her, that you are a possible father.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So do you agree that you had with her during the time when Nyla was conceived?
Yes, I did.
The cringe level spikes when Mr. Lester starts listing all the reasons he thinks he's not the dad. But let's be real, this was barely making his case stronger.
My first doubt, when I first met Miss Moyet, she told me her name was Mia. Come to find out her name was Iris. I left her name in my contents as Mia because she was always missing in action. She told me out of her own mouth she had a boyfriend. She didn't appreciate that I wasn't spending time with her, and that's better than me. And I asked her, well, why you calling me tonight?
The courtroom vibes hit awkward as Mr. Lester claims they always use protection. Miss Moyet fires back, no, we didn't. She looks at the judge like, why would I lie about this? The judge just sighs, clearly over their back and forth, as things start getting even more confusing.
We always had protected sex.
We had protected sex, Your Honor.
Mr. and I have never had protected sex.
Only I know how old I am, and I know what sex leads to. And I just want to point out to you the percentages having babies and how it declines.
Some more research.
Yes.
This part's where Judge Lake hits us with some real talk, and it's actually kind of sweet. It's like she's giving life advice while still knee-deep in all this drama.
Do you hear what he's saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
I know when you say you had the love of an older man, it was filling a void you felt for not having the love of your father. You were saying that. Regardless of what this result is today, I don't want you running around behind him. Do you understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're better than that, and you deserve more than that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right?
The big moment everyone's been waiting for is here.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
Oh boy, buckle up because this case starts wild and only gets crazier. With that opening, things are about to get heated and totally messy.
Mr. Dark, you say the defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son, which you say is impossible.
This backstory is like the soap opera you never asked for. You just know that's going to come back around and bite someone later.
We was in a relationship for about 4 years. Everything was okay. Everything was pretty good when I first met her. Some good conversations about establishing us a family and probably having kids. We lived together at that time. I left to go out of town to do some work. Went to Florida to do some work in Florida. While I was going to Florida to do some work, I talked to Ms. Bailey about almost every day.
Get ready, because here comes the I cheated because you cheated circus act. And trust me, that's not even the half of it. Things are just warming up.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yeah.
This is where it all starts getting wilder, with Mr. Dark basically saying, wait, do the math. Suddenly, we've got more questions than answers, and Mr. Dark's math skills are being put to the test big time.
With the calculation and the date she's using, Mr. Dark, you're saying this would only been 8 months.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you believe she was already pregnant when you all were intimate in March?
She had to be already pregnant. And so I guess I was just a crutch.
Whatever.
From the beginning, I was there at the hospital when Jameer was born, even with my doubt, because in the back of my mind, I didn't never want to feel like, okay, he really was my son and I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do as a father.
The birth certificate story is a doozy because Mr. Dark says he only signed it because Ms. Bailey pressured him big time. He's now totally regretting that decision, and we're all wondering what this could mean when the DNA results come in.
And the reason why I signed the birth certificate, to answer your question, is because you told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then I wouldn't have another opportunity to sign it. That's what you told me right there at the hospital.
I didn't force you to sign it. You
If
signed it on your own.
Sign it, what was gonna happen? He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that? You know you said
I did
that.
not tell you that. No, I said, okay, if you don't sign it, okay, that's on you.
If you thought this was a one-time drama, think again. Ms. Bailey's got a history. Now he's wondering if this is a repeat performance, and everyone in the courtroom is starting to question what's really going on here.
Ms. Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have, with my ex.
So one of your other children, there was a paternity question surrounding that?
Yes, that he wasn't.
The biological father. Do you know who your child's biological father?
Yes, I do.
History is repeating itself in this moment for you.
Oh, and just when you thought this couldn't get any messier, here comes Mr. Dark's current girlfriend with her own opinions. Now, we've got love triangles, timelines, and all sorts of drama flying around the courtroom, just like a daytime TV show.
First, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like the baby looks like him.
So you do not feel like there is a physical resemblance?
No. Well, my due date is November 19th. My conception date is February 24th.
And we're now 1 year later, but what you're saying is that you have a similar due date.
Even though he's got doubts, Mr. Dark says he's been there for Jameer anyway, taking him to family gatherings and giving him some dad time. But even with all this family drama, he's trying to be a responsible guy, and the big DNA test is just around the corner.
Jameer is 11 months old. What has been your relationship?
I was in Jameer's life. I've been a part of his life. I've kept him. I took him to Alabama with me when I went to my granny's funeral last month. And my whole family said that that's not your child.
So when Jameer with you to your family member's funeral.
Yes, ma'am.
The judge doesn't mince words here, laying down some tough truths about legal responsibility. It's a serious moment, and you can see Mr. Dark wondering if he should have brought a calculator to figure this all out sooner.
But Judge, I just it's so much she say I don't want to do for him. I bought him probably like about 15 ones when he first was born and
Did not buy him nothing.
And I took him to her or whatever, but
It was
because of the
clothes that
fact
was
that
already worn for someone
because
else.
of the fact had gave me these things or whatever,
Okay,
but
so
it
why
was
would you
because
say you something
her
you
baby
never
never
bought
won.
that-
They
Well,
were
let me
brand new.
be clear.
It's finally time for the big reveal, and let's just say, it does not disappoint. The DNA results come in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dark, you are the father. These are the last two possibilities, Ms. Kavanaugh.
There's one more, Your Honor. Your Honor, when I said I was highly intoxicated, I was going to work drunk. If something bad happened to me, Your Honor, I would want to drink.
You know you can't drink your problems away.
Yes, I
And
found
you
it out
see
now.
that.
Yes.
Are you kidding me right now? Excuse me? This is why I want my divorce. This is why I want him to sign over his rights, and when his test come back, he is my child father. Because of that, I had to deal with almost 5 years with my child. When you was the one committing adultery too, did you not forget that I walked in on you in our home?
Right off the bat, this is one of the wildest stories to hit the courtroom. Now, she thinks her mom's friend, Mr. Spence, might be the real dad. And with a start like this, you know it's only going to get messier from here.
Ms. Kavanaugh, you appeared in our courtroom previously and tested 2 men as potential fathers of your 1-month-old son, Malcolm. Unfortunately, neither turned out to be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You believe Malcolm's biological father is a good friend of your mother's, Mr. Spence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Things get weird fast as Miss Kavanaugh spills about trying to seduce her mom's friend. The crowd gasps as she opens up, and Judge Lake looks like she's about to say, "Girl, what were you thinking?" But if you think that's awkward, wait until you hear what Mr. Spence says next.
Mr. Spence, a friend of Miss Kavanaugh's mother, and say her daughter made several attempts to have sex with you. Then, after a lapse in judgment, you admit you did sleep with her. Now you say there's a chance you could be Malcolm's father.
Mr. Spence tries to explain himself here, and it's as uncomfortable as you'd think. Just when you think it couldn't get worse, the family's about to jump in with more drama.
Mr. Spence, can you enlighten the court on the nature of your relationship with Miss Kavanaugh's mother?
It's like she said, we just been friends since the first time we met.
So it was never a sexual relationship ever?
No.
That was not that believable, but I'm gonna move on.
Judge Lake turns to Miss Kavanaugh with a big question, asking if her son looks like Mr. Spence, and things get real awkward again. The suspense kicks up another notch, as everyone in the room is clearly trying to figure out who this baby really looks like. But that's only the beginning.
We have Malcolm, 1 month old, and your mother's friend could be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So as you look at Malcolm, do you see Mr. Spence, any resemblance?
I see a little bit, but from being in court previously, I found out that you can't always go on looks at all.
This part is intense, as Miss Kavanaugh's Makisiquiawar shares her feelings of betrayal and total shock. Now that it's all coming out, you can practically feel her frustration. The next witness is about to spill even more tea.
How did it feel to learn that your daughter was sleeping with your very good friend?
It was very devastating, just because the relationship was inappropriate. I felt betrayed. Actually, when we were together, like all in the same room, I noticed them looking at each other a little differently. And I knew my gut
woman's
told-
intuition.
Exactly.
You'd think it couldn't get juicier, but then Miss Kavanaugh's sister steps up to spill more secrets. But trust me, things are still heating up.
I know my mom and him had like a best friend connection. And one day, me and Megan went to go meet Ken. It was just me and Megan. And she was like getting something from him. I think it was like some money or something. That I had intimate with him. And then I went to go, because my mom was wondering, asking Megan questions, and Megan was denying it. So I come clean. That's how my mom found out, is that it was intimate is because of me.
Even Mr. Spence seems unsure about all of this, which makes the whole situation even wilder. But don't worry, the plot thickens because we're about to meet yet another possible dad.
First of all, I didn't mean for this to happen. Yes, I got weak. Yes, I am a man. Yes, I could have told you no. Told you no thrice. For as the baby being mine, I don't know. That's why I'm here to clear this up.
Are you in a relationship?
I'm married.
And here's the next curveball Mr. Scott comes in, ready to tell his side of things as another potential dad. Just when you think you've got it all sorted, they pull out baby pictures for a comparison that gets everyone talking.
We understand that you had a sexual relationship with Miss Kavanaugh.
Yes, ma'am.
It was during the window of conception.
Yes, ma'am.
You were not using protection.
I use protection every time. I don't recall, not using
protection.
So you don't recall. Now, she says there was an instance when you did not, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Say there was no instance?
No, ma'am.
The baby photo showdown. Mr. Scott and everyone else in the room stare at his baby picture alongside Malcolm's, looking for any tiny detail that matches. But you know the real answer is coming, and it's going to be good.
This is my baby picture.
Let me see. This is your baby picture.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, there we go.
Malcolm's baby picture. Your mother says when she saw the picture, he looks like you.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't see it?
I mean, I see the jaws in the head, but you can't really just go by the, the look.
Judge Lake steps in to talk about something more serious as she addresses Miss Kavanaugh's issues with drinking. This is a big moment for Miss Kavanaugh to face her choices, but her journey isn't over yet.
These are the last two possibilities, Miss Kavanaugh.
There's one more, Your Honor. Your Honor, when I said I was highly intoxicated, I was going to work drunk. If something bad happened to me, Your Honor, I would want to drink.
You know you can't drink your problems away.
Yes, I found
And you
it out.
see that?
Yes.
Mr. Scott comes across as the surprising adult in the room, saying he'd be there for Malcolm if he's the dad. Everyone's feeling the suspense now as we get closer to the DNA reveal.
If Malcolm is your biological child, are you ready to step up? What are your intentions?
Yes, ma'am. I'm really, I take full responsibility. If the baby's mine, I'll be there. I mean, there's no more I can say. It'll be my baby.
The moment is here, and everyone's glued to Judge Lake as she reads the DNA results for Mr. Scott.
Mr. Spence, you are not his father.
It's okay.
Buckle up, because this starts wild and only gets wilder. Ms. Smith kicks things off by asking the court to prove Mr. Hopkins is the father of her 2-year-old daughter, Camya. This is just the warm-up, and it's already bonkers.
Miss Smith, you've petitioned the court today to prove to your fiance that he is the biological father of your beautiful 2-year-old daughter, Kamaya. Mr. Hopkins, you don't believe that you are Kamaya's biological father and say today's negative result would end all wedding plans.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's hard to believe, but Ms. Smith actually admits she'd sometimes tell Mr. Hopkins he's not the dad just to make him mad. Ms. Smith admits it was all to tick him off, and the look on everyone's faces says it all. This is only heating up, folks.
I believe he have doubt, Your Honor, because of his Melody mama always in our business. If she wouldn't have been going around putting it up in his head that she not his, the one I'm carrying is not his, we wouldn't be here today.
That's not true, Your Honor.
This part is jaw-dropping. Mrs. Smith just casually drops the bomb that she didn't tell Mr. Hopkins about the pregnancy at first because she had cheated with her ex around that time. If you think this is the peak of the drama, you're in for a ride.
So we planned on having a baby. I got pregnant. I had a miscarriage. He was kind of like just sad and depressed because he really wanted a child.
Planned to have a baby during the time you were with her.
Pregnant, she never tell me. You know what I'm saying? If you plan to have a child with somebody, how come you not tell them that you're pregnant right away?
Why didn't you tell him, Miss Smith?
I ain't tell him because I cheated.
Mr. Hopkins comes prepared with some social media receipts, and they're pure chaos. When the judge asks if her ex has already been tested, Mr. Smith sheepishly admits no, he hasn't. Looks like this tangled web just got a lot messier.
This is a post from her ex saying
that
the wifey and our new baby Kamaya testify that you have no doubt that Mr. Hopkins is Kamaya's father.
I do feel he's her father. She looked like him, like they eyes, they nose.
If you thought things were crazy, hold up. Ms. Smith has a new twist, and just when you think it's all out in the open, more questions keep popping up.
You know what happened to that. I had a C-section with Kamaya, so I was, off a lot of meds, and I didn't know that he was gonna put his name down on there. And
so your ex put his name down on Kamaya's birth certificate?
Yes, it's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Explain, but at the same time.
Now things get mathematical as they argue about who's the daddy based on the timeline, and it's pretty wild. This timeline business only adds another layer of confusion to this epic mess.
October 15th, got that. And you were on an involuntary extended stay.
I say like around the end of January, beginning of February. It don't make
It ends up being approximately 40 weeks, which is long enough for a baby to be born. But based on this calendar, you do understand that you're not excluded being a possible father.
And now, the plot thickens as Mr. Hopkins' mom steps up, and she's got a lot to say. Looks like this mom is determined to spill all the tea.
She was messing around with this man during the conception time. How I know this? Because a friend of mine was at Applebee's and was like, girl, you'll never guess who I ran into. I was like, who? She said her name. I was like, girl, stop lying. So she FaceTimed me. Turned all the way around so I can see her. She's sitting there with dude.
That's all she do.
Really?
It wasn't me.
Ms. Washup, Mr. Hopkins' mom, dives dives into why she thinks her son is being taken for a ride. It's equal parts funny and sad. If you thought mom was fierce before, she's only just getting started.
And my son done went through this before. He wanted a baby so bad. He done had a girl try to put a baby on him before when he was on that extended vacation. I ain't got no room to take care of no kids, because I already got 8 or 9 of my own, plus 15, 20 grandkids.
Whoa. Why everybody still want a baby?
I don't know
First
why.
of all, you can't even stay home enough.
Thank you.
Mr. Hopkins isn't just here for answers, he wants his money back. With the cash issue sorted, it's finally time for the big reveal everyone's been waiting for.
$1,950, shoes, canopy bed, totaling $2,577.
See, the $77, I really ain't gonna trip on that.
But you gonna take back that $2,500. Did you buy these things out of the goodness of your heart, or did she demand you buy these things?
I can say both.
This part is the gut punch.
Mr. Hopkins, you are not Kamaya's father.
It's gonna be all right, baby.
Things kick off wild and don't slow down as Judge Lake starts this wild roller coaster of a case. And believe me, those messages are only the start of the mess that's coming.
You admit to cheating on the defendant, Mr. Terrell. You say you are here today to determine the paternity of your 1-year-old son, Fonz Terrell III, in hopes that Mr. Terrell will finally step and be a father.
Mr. Terrell's excitement about becoming a dad takes a nosedive in no time. This poor guy is about to hear Ms. Holliday's side, but it might just confuse him, and us, even more.
My first child ever, you know? I'm even talking about marrying this girl, so I'm like, all right, we have a couple of days past. She telling everybody on Facebook, like, oh, I'm pregnant. 3 different guys hit her up, like, oh, is it mine? And so I'm like, all right, she told me 2 of them is exes. One is the dude she fool around with. So I'm like...
Ms. Holliday tries explaining her side, but let's just say it's messy. Mr. Terrell isn't buying it and brings up yet another weird incident with a different guy. Just wait, things are only about to get stickier.
I got with TJ in July of 2011. I was no longer talking to Devin at all. He came over and I was supposed to be doing his daughter hair. Since he told me that he had recently had sex with my cousin, that I didn't want to do his daughter hair anymore. All hanging out. I go back in the house, I don't want nothing to do with you guys. You had sex with her, so you deal with her.
Mr. Terrell hits back with details that add to this circus of a situation. Now he's doubting everything, including being the father. The tension is thicker than oatmeal, and it's about to boil over.
So let me hit him up on your Facebook so he could think I'm you. She gets nervous. She told me that they had oral on the boat that day.
So she begins to admit that there was some type of sexual contact.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Terrell has the crowd's jaws dropping with this next story. The excuses Ms. Holliday gives are a whole other level of interesting, to say the least.
Oh, babe, that kiss was the bomb, babe, and all that. So I'm like, what's up with this? What happened? She was like, no, I didn't even kiss him, man. He talking crazy. Yeah.
That's what you believe.
He actually called me on my phone.
Ms. Holliday tries explaining her arrangements with her guy friends in a way that would leave anyone scratching their head. And just when you think things couldn't get weirder, Mr. Terrell's grandma is about to chime in.
They're guy friends. Yes, I had different guy friends. TJ knows that. I called and I need help from you, so can you do this for me?
That was only that one time at that hotel, and she was like, oh, I'm just going in there to, he gonna hit up her phone talking about how he kissed her.
Ain't nobody giving up no money for nothing. Come on.
I'm gonna leave it at this.
Grandma Archer steps in, and she's got some thoughts to share, and she's not holding back. Ms. Holliday's reaction to this advice just adds even more twist to this already tangled web.
And I said, what is your intent for my grandson? She said, oh, nothing, I'm just going to school. I'm going to school for nursing for 5 years. I'm gonna be a neonatal nurse, and I don't want no children, and I'm trying to keep him safe, and I'm trying to help him live a holy life.
Enter Mr. Williamson, one of the other guys in this dad guessing game, and he has his own feelings to share. As things get emotional, it's clear this DNA test is going to be one heck of a moment.
December of 2011, Your Honor, Moshe left. I couldn't get in contact with her. 3 weeks later, I find out she's pregnant through a message. She tell me, oh, it's a 50-50 chance I might be the father or I might not be the father. I said, well, what happened? She said, I cheated on you.
And there it is, folks, the answer we've all been waiting for.
It has been determined that Mr. Terrell, you are father.
Thank you.
Buckle up, because this case is as wild as it gets. We jump right into the madness as Mr. Harvey is here to get his $496.50 tutor back for baby stuff he says he had to buy for a kid that isn't his. And you can tell by the looks on their faces that this is going to be a doozy.
Mr. Harvey, you are asking the court to award you $496.52 for baby supplies you say the defendant, Ms. Jett, demanded for a child you adamantly deny is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then, Ms. Jett drops another bombshell bombshell. She says she moved in with him and that they were all lovey-dovey for a hot minute. But then Harvey jumps in saying, nah, it wasn't like that. You can practically see the question marks in the judge's head.
Every day we had sex every day.
You got pregnant 2 weeks.
I didn't find out till I was
we had sex the first week I met you.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it was the second
I didn't find out till I was pregnant a month later, which was August. I was having sex with him every day.
A month after I met her, she left and moved back to Orlando. I stayed 60 miles from her. Buy all this baby stuff.
I asked him,
I did not argue with her.
It takes 9 months for somebody to be.
And now we get to the juicy part, cheating accusations. Ms. Jett accuses Harvey of being a big-time cheater, saying he was messing around with other girls, which is why their relationship tanked. Harvey just shakes his head while his doubts keep piling up. You can feel the court bracing itself for the next twist.
Why'd you stop talking? Because he was so sexually active with other women. He was cheating on me.
Oh, so there was a breakdown in the relationship.
Yes.
So at some point you were living apart.
Yes.
And then you demanded he bring you.
I was asking him months and months and months. Can he get this? Can he get that? He said, no, I'm not getting you
Your
anything
Honor,
until
I
the
have
baby
evidence
is born.
It turns into a shopping list battle next. Harvey brings out receipts like, look, I got all the baby stuff she asked for. And he's got actual receipts from Facebook to prove it. Things are heating up as they argue over bottles and blankets.
I have evidence to show you that I have bought everything she demanded
I
me.
asked him months
I have evidence right here. She wrote me on Facebook demanding that I buy. I said, okay, Your Honor. I have the receipt where I bought everything on the list.
You need to make sure you bring me all of these things. 1, diapers. 2, baby wipes. 3, pacifiers.
Then Harvey throws some serious shade with a Facebook post twist. Even the audience gasps at the online drama.
After she had the baby, she had told me the whole time she was pregnant, she was in a relationship. And she said she was in a sexual relationship. That's one. If the baby mom, why didn't you tag me in the picture? Tag another guy and say she doesn't know who the guy is. Well, why the picture still stayed on your Facebook? And my family had to tell me, oh, you know she tagged another dude name in the picture. I got evidence for that too.
The receipts and math wars just keep going. Ms. Jett has her own list of baby costs and says she's covered everything herself. The judge is probably thinking they should be suing each other over grocery receipts at this rate.
Here's all the expenses that I've been taking care for of my daughter alone. He's suing me for $500. Her diapers is a little less than what he's suing me for. And plus her feeding is double that.
I'm suing you for what I got a receipt for.
Okay, but her diapers are close to what you're suing me for.
Every time you needed diapers, you called me and I gave it to you. Whenever you needed something, every time she called me, I gave it to her, Your Honor.
Just when it couldn't get weirder, Harvey accuses her of asking another guy to pay for an abortion. The judge's eyebrows go higher with every twist as the paternity doubts grow louder.
And then another thing is, after she had the baby, she was trying to get pregnant again. She was like, she told me she was pregnant or whatever, so I went and got her and stuff like that. And then she had started going through my phone. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go through your phone too. She telling this dude, she said, you need to pay for this abortion. And the whole time she was never pregnant. She told me she was pregnant for me, and then she telling some other dude he need to pay for abortion.
Now Harvey brings in the big guns. His aunt. Aunt Highsmith steps up and says the baby doesn't look anything like their family. By this point, everyone's looking at the baby like it's a science experiment gone wrong.
I know is that when she had the baby, looking at my nephew's other children, we have strong genes. And all his brothers look alike, his brother's kids look alike.
And I have
they have the same heads. His children look just alike from different moms. Everybody looks like the Harveys or the Highsmith. Baby has no genes of us at all. Head shape or
like
anything.
me, I have strong genes.
Next up, Jet's mom gets in on the drama. She's here to defend her daughter and her granddaughter, and she's not letting Harvey off easy. It's mom versus aunt in the family showdown.
He called me and told me that Shadeja was pregnant.
I didn't meet.
He hadn't met me, but you called me and told me my daughter is pregnant and how I shouldn't worry about you leaving.
I did not know Kim until after the baby was born.
Oh, you called me. Don't sit up there and lie. You did.
I did not know. I did not know her until after the baby was born.
And now Harvey explains why he bailed on supporting the baby. The judge is looking a little overwhelmed, but everyone else is just eating up every second of this roller coaster.
I want to understand that though, Mr. Harvey, because it seems like you were on board, and I have not testimony that would substantiate the departure from the commitment that you've made.
Because
I don't understand where the doubt.
This is the moment of truth. The DNA results are in.
Pertaining to 4-month-old Nolani Harvey. Mr. Harvey, you are not her father.
This case kicks off with a serious jaw-dropper. Mr. Johnson is so sure he's not the dad of his wife's newborn that he's asking for a court-ordered paternity test. It's clear these two have some major drama in store for us.
Mr. Johnson, you are here with your wife, but you are positive her newborn daughter, Diari, is not your biological child. You have petitioned this court to grant you a paternity test so you can get your name removed from the birth certificate.
Right out of the gate, Mr. Johnson lays out why he's keeping his distance. He's just not feeling all that dad energy since he's not sure the baby is his. Spoiler, this emotional roller coaster is nowhere near the end of the tracks.
I want to be for sure. I take care of all my kids. My name is on the birth certificate. I don't want a child to have my last name if it's really not mine. Half of the time I don't want to be there. I don't want to assist with the child. I don't want to do too much as far as fathering goes because, I mean, I'm really not sure. You know, I'm kind of uncomfortable, so.
Things take a wild twist when Mr. Johnson openly admits to cheating, ignoring Mrs. Johnson's feelings, making their relationship a soap opera mess. You might think things are settling, but buckle up because it's just getting started.
Honestly, we always had a rocky relationship. 10 years, separated numerous times because of me. I was always in the streets. This was like a normal thing for me. Being in the streets, being gone, you know, dealing with other women. It was always, I never really cared the way I should. After we lost our child, I just didn't.
Judge Lake steps in with a little life lesson, warning about how easy it is to mess up relationships, especially when you work closely with the opposite intimate violence. It's a good lesson for both them and the audience. But don't worry, this drama still has a few more layers to uncover.
This is actually a really good moment, a relationship lesson that many have had to learn. Because a lot of people work in businesses where they work predominantly with the opposite sex. Initial flirtation to turn into a lot more and destroy your family and your home, which is what it's doing.
And now, for a plot twist. After a year apart, Johnsons get back together, partly because their kids were just so happy to see them reunited. You'd think they'd be jumping for joy, but Mr. Johnson's more on the wait what side of things.
So you separated for a whole year. What happens during the separation?
Well, during the separation, I just was
just doing her and I was doing me. We weren't planning on getting back together.
And so you were out dating, having sex. You were with multiple people with one person.
Yes.
Boom. Mrs. Johnson drops a bomb, revealing she'd been with someone else during the separation. Meaning, well, baby's father is now in question. And as if that wasn't enough, the stakes are about to go sky high with some math.
So he was excited and you were scared because you did have sex with someone else during the time you were broken up and thought you were never getting back together again.
Right.
How do you go from excitement to doubt?
After the excitement, we celebrated, talked about it. You know, I mean, that was like the best time for me at that moment.
Judge Lake whips out a conception calculator like a detective in a crime show, and the results? The likely dates for conception just so happened to fall right around the time they got back together. Now, the math adds more fuel to the fire, and the tension's just boiling over as we await that DNA test.
I have a conception calculator here. When was Diari born?
She was born on the 10th of this month.
And hit calculate. It says the window of conception would be June 15th through June 19th. So that would put the date of intercourse between June 12th and June 18th.
And just when you thought things couldn't get more dramatic, Dr. Jeff enters with some deep therapy vibes. But therapy or no therapy, it's time to face that DNA truth.
I think it's important for them, and we had spoken about this, to look at some of the other challenges that they have not dealt with. You talked with them a few days ago about the death of their carriage. Mrs. Johnson had a miscarriage. And so I followed up on that cue and found out that Mr. Johnson had not dealt with that miscarriage.
Okay, here it is. The big moment everyone's been sweating over. Judge Lake opens the DNA results. And guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Johnson, you are the father.
Buckle up for this wild ride, because it's about to get messy. Miss McGee is in court to prove that her estranged husband, Mr. McGee, is actually the dad of her daughter, Serenity. Looks like Mr. McGee has a whole different story up his sleeve, though.
Ms. McGee, you have petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to your estranged husband, Mr. McGee, that he is in fact father of your 4-year-old daughter, Serenity.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim your husband vanished 4 years ago after the birth of your child and has denied fathering your daughter and refuses to help financially.
And just when you thought this was straightforward, Mr. McGee hits back with some pretty wild accusations. You You won't believe how Miss McGee reacts to this one.
Mr. McGee, you say you wanted to be a family, and that's why you married Ms. McGee, only to discover that after Serenity was born, your wife cheated on you and that you may not be the father of the child.
Yes, Your Honor.
Get the tissues, because Miss McGee's story is rough. She says she's had to handle everything alone, all the medical bills and even therapy for her daughter, who has autism. Things are about to heat up as she calls him out for not helping.
The last 4 years of my life with my daughter has been pure hell. I've had to pay for medical expenses for my daughter. My daughter was born with slight autism. That I had to struggle to take her to therapy sessions, everything. And he just vanished and left us. I did everything by myself for the last almost 5 years.
Whoa, Mr. McGee just dropped a major bomb. Get ready for a whole lot more finger pointing as this drama unfolds.
Mr. McGee, you do admit you were in a sexual relationship with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were having that sex without protection.
Look at that little
Yes, Your
girl.
Honor.
So why don't you
Look at that little girl.
But I don't believe because not only her, but multiple family members of hers is informing they think that I'm not the father of the child. We were drinking and stuff. She ended up falling asleep. Sitting on the edge of the bed, her phone ended up going off.
Miss McGee isn't backing down and fires back with some big demands. Let's see what Mr. McGee has to say about that.
Are you kidding me right now? Excuse me? This is why I want my divorce. This is why I want him to sign over his rights, and when his test come back, he is my child father. Because of that, I had to deal with almost 5 years with my child. When you was the one committing adultery too, did you not forget that I walked in on you in our home?
Now things get extra awkward as Miss McGee's mom, Miss Justice, steps in with her own wild opinion. Wonder what Miss McGee thinks about her mom taking sides.
So do you think Mr. McGee is your grandchild's father?
No, Your Honor, I don't. My daughter was out there. Excuse me? Was I a slut when you married me? Was I a slut when you slept with me?
Yes.
Miss Justice is really laying it all out there now, and she's not holding back. But wait till you hear what Miss McGee's got to say about that.
I raised her up in a good Christian environment and to honor marriage. Okay? And my daughter does not want family or no one to know that she was out. So if I'm against her, talking against her, then she's going to go against what I say. I want an apology from you, and I want one from you. Because if I was out there, how I know who my child's father is? I admitted to him that I made mistakes throughout our relationship.
Now Miss McGee drops another jaw dropper, admitting she was with her boyfriend without protection during the time Serenity was conceived. Judge Lake isn't done grilling her yet.
Were you intimate with him during the window of conception?
Once.
With protection or without?
Without.
Without.
So that's 2 guys now.
Miss McGee shares a painful memory that really hits hard. But Mr. McGee isn't exactly apologizing.
If he had so much doubt, and I stand on, you should have waited. You should have been did the paternity test. You shouldn't wait till now, 4 years later. He was not there. If you had any ounce of this 25% like say that she was yours, you should have been there whether you thought she was or not. You still should have been there. Don't wait till now.
And now, Mr. McGee's trying to play the good dad card with some money order receipts he says are proof he's been helping out. Judge Lake's about to put a stop to the back and forth with some real answers.
To show every week and everything MoneyGram receipts that I'm sending to her every week.
He say it's been multiple money orders. He sent me one $40. And that's because he called me and said, you're my wife. I want some sex. So I said, I need some transportation. He sent me $40 to get to him so we could have sex because she deserved it more than you deserve some of me.
It's a full-on showdown as Mr. McGee and Mr. Coley, the boyfriend, throw jabs at each other. The tension is through the roof as she opens the envelope.
He's not really into Serenity. If they wouldn't have presented the birth certificate, you probably wouldn't know your own daughter's full name.
You
don't even know what your daughter get up and ask for when she wake up in the morning. Instead of you hating me, you should congratulate me or loving me because of what I did.
And what, you're a deadbeat.
Finally, the moment of truth has arrived, and things are about to get real.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. McGee.
How you feel now? Bet you feel stupid now, don't you?
Ms. McGee.
You missed all them years.